Firehouse 51 was ultimately struck by financial cuts in the Chicago fire episode. It wasn't lovely. With almost 2 hours warning, Mouch and his staff were ordered to sit out their shift. Chief Pascal was irritated. He detested the fact that first responders were being laid off because the city had lost so much money. The city was left in a precarious situation. After the call centers experienced cuts, they already had problems, and now it was their turn to suffer. It was their first call. One of the ambulances had overturned. Violet saw it and knew what it was. Murphy, her friend, owned it. Murphy was still confined within. She had to be removed by the firefighters. Violet simply didn't wait for them. She ran to her friend's side right away and told her that they would assist her. They have a task to complete. So Severide politely urged her to get down. There was something in the ambulance. Murphy was in a relationship. In the rear, she also had the fact that Violet was the only one present to see Murphy's release and loading into her own ambulance while she had to concentrate on the man in danger is terrible. The reason behind the ambulance's rollover was unknown. It didn't seem like a car crash. Murphy was a skilled driver, so a sudden turn couldn't have been the cause. Babra together, she and Violet were the academy. During that time, she bonded. They grew close. When Murphy met her husband, Violet was present. Murphy later gave birth to a newborn girl. Violet hadn't checked in for a long time, so she couldn't recall her age. She became engrossed in the work. In her relationships after that, the bond was lost in the shuffle. After dropping the patient off, Violet remained at the hospital, so she went to see how Murphy was doing. She met Murphy's paramedic partner when Murphy was undergoing a CT scan. Violet doubted if she had heard him correctly. Nevertheless, he claimed responsibility for the What did he do wrong? Violet needed to find out because she didn't know. What had happened to Murphy, she had to know. The accident caused Murphy to sustain a severe brain injury. It's possible that she won't even recall what occurred. Her partner had stopped communicating. Pierce told their chief he didn't know what had transpired. He claimed that everything was all right until he was flung about. With Novak on her side, Violet approached Pierce after becoming enraged on behalf of her buddy. When he claimed he was to blame for the accident, they insisted on knowing what he meant. Then Pierce acknowledged that he was aware of Murphy's fatigue. She should never have been allowed to drive. It wasn't a coincidence. They nearly died because she dozed off while driving. They were also impacted by the budget reduction. They worked 24-hour shifts with no opportunity for relaxation. Murphy shouldn't have been driving because they were so busy with all the cuts. Since the ambo slipping to the side, he was at the back. Murphy's name was called out by him. She tried too hard to course correct after being startled awake. That is what led to the mishap. Because he didn't want his friend to get into trouble, Pierce chose not to report it. The issue persisted. They couldn't allow individuals to nod off while driving. Later, Murphy awoke in the hospital. She recalled every detail. She had communication with her union attorney. She refused to take responsibility. What Violet said didn't matter. When the city was broke, she couldn't afford to quit her employment. She must consider her family. She intended to remain silent about what transpired. Pierce had no intention of criticizing her. This was going to occur once more, with someone else, if not with her. Violet was unable to dispute with Murphy about what was right when she received a call. Kidd's foster son was causing her problems as well. He hardly spoke to her at all. That's typical for a teenage boy, according to everyone at the station. Without notifying anyone, Herman's son gave up playing soccer. Cindy unintentionally bumped into the coach at the bank, which is how they learned about it. To learn who was dating, Cruz had to join his son's Fortnite server. In Kidd's instance, teenage boys in particular showed no interest in talking to their mothers about foster mothers. If she hadn't discovered that he attempted to hide a torn soul by coloring them in, she wouldn't have even realized he needed new sneakers. Had to see her spouse take a huge chance. A boat was out of control. The driver was unconscious, from a heart attack perhaps. The boat continued to operate. It was a moving boat that Severide had to board. Then he prevented them from colliding with the river wall and saved the man's life. The man's daughter, it turns out, was in the rear. Herman helped her have her injured elbow healed. Violet got an idea from it. After speaking with Murphy once more, Violet and Murphy developed a thorough plan to address the shortages. Pascal also made an effort to deal with them. He returned his attention to Annette Davis. He requested a more effective strategy to address the city's deficit. She informed him that they used CFD to develop a plan. They intended to cut back on the number of battalions. 6 battalion chiefs were being let go. Of them, Pascal was not. Annette invited him out for drinks as well, for which he was unprepared. Less than a year has passed after the death of his wife. He wasn't prepared to part ways with her or start dating someone else. He hadn't noticed it yet, but there was another aspect that suggested Annette was scheming. Violet and Murphy came up with a scheme. Murphy was about to speak out. Firefighters without shifts would be hired to serve as EMTs. In the field, they had already received training. The hiring freeze was circumvented. The brass would have to abide by this guideline if they didn't want to risk being sued. Kidd also took Isaiah to the hospital to visit his mother. She experienced brain fluid. When Isaiah forced his way to see her for himself, she was intubated, in a coma, and had to undergo surgery.